Whew. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our angel readings. We've got some questions already pouring in on Restream. I'm going to do our opening prayer and get down to them as quickly as possible. O great spirit, Father Sky, Mother Earth, the winds, the waters, my father, my mother, Atanaha, all that is. We thank you for our lives and we thank you for these good people. We thank you for all that we are and all that we are to become. We dedicate our time spent together and our relationships with one another to you. We ask that our suffering be ended and our pain be lifted to the love and to the peace that lay beyond. Aho, Amen, Namaste. Okay, so first question. Okay, it's from Prizetti. Dear Sky, I've been working with my father roots issues, but I'm always being triggered from him and feeling resentment and anger. Any advice? How can I find peace? Thank you. Many blessings. So I'll draw an angel card for you. Okay, just so we can start off on that foot. Get Archangel Gabriel to tell us what the deal is. Oh, you've got Mother Mary coming in. The Blessed Mother is helping you with your divine life purpose. So this is telling me that you need to do some work on the mother wound too. So whenever most people tend to have a parent that they tried to please or tried to like they craved their love more growing up, and then that's often the parent that they start their healing on. But it's important to do both, right? It's important to do both the mother and the father wound because they are in relationship to each other. How your mother, your trauma is not just a mirror of one of your parents, it's a mirror of their relationship to each other. And most people get confused because they're looking for a mirror of a mother or a father, and the reality is that your trauma print comes from the relationship between them, not from either of them individually. So you do the mother wound, I do the father wound. And I did mine in unison. It took like 2 or 3 years to work through. I think a year to work through the mother wounds, but then another year to work through the collective consciousness, and another year to kind of work through the archetype and past life stuff. But when you're asking me why you're still getting triggered, it's because two reasons, right? Number one is that sometimes the abuse isn't finished. So the fact that you've forgiven them for what happened in childhood, or you've healed your childhood wounds, doesn't mean that you are obligated to keep or stay in an abusive relationship now, right? And there's a very big difference. Healing and spiritual healing is not supposed to be used to bypass the courage to change a relationship, So if it's then you want to look at what is it about your father that you didn't grieve, right? So whenever you're doing mother wound or father wound, you need to understand that what we're most upset about is the mother or father that we didn't have. So we're comparing our mother and father to something, normally the perfect mother or the perfect father, right? And they are human. They're not the perfect mother or the perfect father. The perfect mother or the perfect father doesn't exist. And it's quite interesting because the next card that comes up is perfectionism. You can't make this stuff up. So parents are people. They're not archetypes. They're not images that we watch in Disney films. They're real human beings with their own wounds and their own problems and their own beliefs, right? So the energy that's coming up around here is like you need to grieve the father that you never had. You need to let yourself grieve that you're never going to get the love from your father in childhood, in adulthood, in young, adolescenthood that you were expecting to get. Because if you don't grieve that loss, then you will try and get those things from every partner you have, and he will still trigger you because every time he makes a mistake, it will bring back the grief of never having the father you wanted. And you won't be able to have a relationship with the man that he is because you're still so attached to the person you want him to be, right? And there's a huge gap between who our parents are and who we want them to be. Just like there's a huge gap between who we are and the people that we want to become, right? And this is like a normal part of what they call individualizing in adolescence, where you realize that not only are you not who your parents want you to be as a child, right? That they are not who you want them to be as parents, and then it's not your job to love who you want them to be. It's your job to learn to love them as they are. And then it's that virtue of acceptance, like really being able to love another person for who they are, that makes real love possible. Loving someone so that they'll become who you want them to be is a form of control and manipulation. Loving someone and in having a knowledge, understanding that they are the way that God made them and their environment made them, right? And that people grow in their own time and they have their own seasons. That's a very important aspect of emotional and spiritual maturity. So one of the biggest things that stopped one of that was one of the biggest things, oh, bless you, that stopped me from being triggered with my father. And the other one was like, we're on the second one, but the third thing that really helped me not be triggered by my father was really writing his story from what I understood of it, right? Because when we compare our life and our choices to our parents, we often compare it without context. We're like, I would never do that, but we are invalidating the fact that we have Google, we have the internet, we have an unlimited amount of resources available to us for parenting, for finances, for money that they just did not have available, right? Me, when I was trying to figure out how to become financially free as a young adult or as an adolescent, I could turn on Google and I found free videos from Anthony Robbins and a 1099 book with the biggest investors in the world from Anthony Robbins opening up their investment portfolios, and Rich Dad Poor Dad talking about how there was, saving money was never going to work and how you had to invest. My father, when he asked about making money, he was told to go to school and work hard and go to university, and he couldn't go on Google because it didn't exist and the internet wasn't there. So it's a completely different world that your parents grew up in. And it's important for you to understand that, because when you understand that, that's when you understand that why the advice they gave you was so inaccurate, both emotionally and spiritually, because most parents are giving advice that helped them when they were going through the same situation, but they are not present in the world as it is right now. Right? So then their children are like, well, I followed your advice, it didn't work. And it's like, because your children don't grow up in the same world that you grew up in. They do not have the same challenges that you have. And it's only by you listening to your children and being really present with how the world has changed that you can prepare them for the future. But it's very hard. I kid you not. There's all this stuff that I thought growing up, this is what I'm going to teach my children. And this is what I'm going to teach my stepkids. That when that realization hit, because I was doing healing on my mother and father, that I realized that all that stuff that I thought was wisdom was actually just projection, right? Was actually just transference. And that what my kids needed from me was my presence, just like that's what my parents needed from me at every stage of their journey. So let's just take a minute, right, to just get an Archangel Michael to come in and vacuum you. And we're going to get Archangel Azrael to come in to help you with the grief, right? The grief of the father that you never had and that you never will have, because you have the one that you got, right? And of giving yourself permission to feel those feelings and cry and let it out, because that's the only thing that's going to give you the opportunity to have a real relationship with the father that you have, instead of the ideal that you have inside your head. Okay? And that creates an immense opportunity for healing, because you can't heal a fake relationship. You can't heal a relationship with a father that never existed. You can only heal the relationship with the father that you have. Okay? Oh, Lorena's saying, hi, Sky. My eyes are red and dry. What can I do? Okay, we're going to get Archangel Raphael to come in and just do an instant healing on your eyes. So whenever eyes are red, right, it's because we are angry at what we're seeing, and it's often an anger inside, like complex trauma inside the family, or issues in the collective consciousness. So let's just do an instant healing on your eyes. Let's pull all the images that you've seen from media, including social media, any traumas that you've seen inside your family, verbal abuse, emotional abuse, physical abuse, anything that you're seeing at work. Right? Let's just pull that out, and let's pour in so much blue light to reduce the inflammation and the healing. But I really recommend you go and see a doctor, my darling. It looks like an infection to me. So I would go and see a medical professional. H, how are you? Yeah, good, kind of sleepy. I'm not gonna lie, kind of sleepy. It was an early morning. Okay, let's keep going. Terry saying, hi, Sky. May I have a healing for my relationships? I often get into arguments with people and I want to change that. Thank you. Okay, we're going to bring in Archangel Raguel. Archangel Raguel is the angel of peace, right? So he really helps you with arguments and conflicts. And I say that as somebody that used to like love arguing, which is hilarious compared to who I am now, right? The person that avoids conflict at all costs. So it shows you that these angels really work. They work their magic. There you go. Whew. So arguing with people comes from believing that you need to change another person to be understood and accepted. The reality is that you need to accept another person to be understood and accepted. People are actually normally very accepting of other people's opinions and beliefs as long as you're tolerant of theirs. And they can energetically feel what you are trying to do. So this is not about your words, this is about your actions. So you can be really nice and still be trying to control someone. You can be really kind and still be telling somebody they're an idiot. So this is like you need to like have a fierce moral inventory of what are your intentions when you're in conflict with people, when you're in relationship with people. There we go. Okay, that's looking a lot better. Aisha saying, "Hi Sky, I had a healing session yesterday. Is there anything my angels want me to know at this time for my highest and best?" Let's ask Archangel Gabriel. So the first card that we got is ask for what you want. Clear communication with yourself, with God, and with others helps you to avoid misunderstanding and speed up the process of answering prayers. So when I see this particularly in women, but very often it comes from childhood trauma of us basically being shamed for knowing what we wanted. Women have an inherent desire for luxury. We have an inherent desire for beauty, and it can be very triggering or shaming for parents that can't provide that, and it can also be very triggering or shaming in religious communities that think that women should be shut down or covered up or shouldn't be beautiful, which is a one way of controlling a woman's power, right? um, and that means that we often stop asking for what we want. I remember the exact day I stopped asking for what I want. I don't remember the date, but I remember the day. And it was, I had two siblings, and I remember being in the back of the car. And I remember all of my mom saying that we could do one thing that we each wanted to do that day, and we could each choose a different thing. And I remember that my siblings were so difficult, like complaining, whining, crying, tantrumy the whole time that we were on my turn, that I just gave up. I was like, it's not worth it. I would rather never do what I want to do than have to deal with um have to deal with people basically ruining what I thought was going to be my joy. And until I was almost 25, people would ask me, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And I would say, you choose, you decide. I didn't even know it came from that trauma, right? Until years later when I was looking into this, because obviously you need to choose your path, you need to choose your purpose. And if you don't know, then that makes it very difficult to take responsibility for your life. So this is an energy of really asking you, look back to where you decided not to know and where you decided not to ask and where you decided that what you wanted was too much trouble or too much hard work or was going to be punished or put down. And then we've got inspiration. Yes, your ideas are divinely guided. Take action accordingly and set it into motion. So a lot of people are waiting for validation before they take action, and it's the other way around. You move first and then God moves. And that requires a lot of courage. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. It requires a lot of courage. It's a risk. You can fall flat on your face, right? But 99% of the time, especially when you're following divine guidance, it doesn't happen. 99% of the time, what happens when you go first and you're in faith is that you fly, you take off. God gives you increase, but God also um gives you like quantum jumps. You should be at level 13, but actually you're level 30 or level 60 or level 90, because God does for you exponential increase that you cannot do for yourself. But that requires a certain level of faith. That's why the Bible says over and over and over and over again, your faith will make you whole, your faith will make you whole, your faith will make you whole. It doesn't say other people's validation will make you whole. It says your faith will make you whole. So when you're working with angels, it's strengthening that spiritual musculature of focusing on what you desire, which is the virtue of faith, right? It's much, much deeper than just simple law of attraction manifestation. It's the ability to stay focused on the divine truth instead of getting sucked into the lies of the third, fifth, and sixth planes of existence. Okay. Judith is saying, hi, Skylar. Thank you for yesterday. I can feel the understanding for the masculine history more in my heart now. Today, I would appreciate to get some help to find the right and divine place for me to live and to overcome what's blocking me and holding me back. Okay, so I'm immediately seeing the two things are connected. So I'm going to call in the housing angels to help you find a home. And we're also going to remove any blocks, vows, and oaths that you made to never let anybody provide for you, right? Because your father or mother shamed you or used the fact that they provided for you to control you, because then that blocks God providing for you, right? Providing home, providing food, providing shelter. That is all an act of receiving. So when you block providing, oh, there we go, that's moving. It blocks the receiving. There we go. Okay, let's see what's coming up. I'm not sure how to get a love card. Well, I have to get the love deck for you, but you're in luck. It's quite close today. My cards like to move around my house. They have a mind of their own. People tend to ask me for advice in different areas of the house. Okay, so the love card for you is playfulness. To recapture romance, you need to allow your inner youthful spirit of fun to shine. So this is like a card to remember what you were like at the beginning of the relationship. As relationships move forward, we tend to change, right? At the beginning of the relationship, what will you do for someone you love? Anything. And then by the time you've been with them 10 years, 13 years, 20 years, it's like you get angry about taking out the trash and doing the dishes. Whereas in the beginning, it's like, can you take out the trash? And you're like, yes. And you're almost singing. And it's like, can you come over, and watch a movie? And you're like, yes. And then 10 years later, it's like, really, watch a movie? That's like zero effort. So go back to the state of mind that you had at the beginning of the relationship. Make the simple things joyful, make the simple things romantic, make the simple things playful, and watch the relationship repair itself. Okay. AH is saying, I'm lost in my life and I don't know what to do. So AH, this is very similar to the question we just that came up with our reading for Aisha, in the what we are here to do is love. Okay, so it doesn't matter whether you're working in a bank or whether you're working as a doctor or whether you're working as a lawyer. Your job is to make the world a better place. Your job is to implement God's love wherever you are. So no matter what position you're in, your job is to bring love into that space, right? That is the core energy. That I don't know what to do is, if like, genuinely, when I'm scanning you, it's a deep fear of your own power and responsibility. I understand this one so deeply because I used to fear discipline, and now it is my best friend. Like Taylor Swift's song, which is like, karma is my best friend. It takes my friends to the tanning beds on the weekend. That's what discipline is like for me now. Discipline is my best friend. It gives you so much power. It gives you so much energy. It gives you so much safety. But in the beginning, it brought back all the control issues and all the abuse issues that I had with my father and with my mother. And it really felt like being re-traumatized. But discipline means to be a follower of the divine, right? Discipline means that you are going to do what God is telling you to do. And that's very different than what authority is telling you to do necessarily. your parents' role is supposed to be to nurture the gifts that God put in you and help you become your true self, trusting that God knew you before you were even in the womb, and knowing that if they nurture your natural gifts that God put in there, your God-given gifts, that you will become who God intended you to be. What tends to happen is that parents project what they want their children to be and confuse it with what God put inside their children. And those are very different things. And then they are trying to make their children either have the things they never had, or live the lives that they never got to live. And then there's nobody being present with what's best for that child. And that's the trauma that I'm seeing coming up for you. The card that I'm getting for you is success, right? So what you really want is to be successful. And the reality is that this is available to you, but you're underestimating the amount of hard work, and you're also giving up at the first hurdle. So when you lack self-belief, and you'll lack self-belief if your parents didn't believe in you, which is what came up during the reading that we just did, when things get hard, you'll assume you're on the wrong path. Whereas the reality is, no matter what path you're on, things get hard sometimes. And if you give up when things get hard, then you don't have those moments of grace, of rising, of musculature being built, right? And people also lose faith in you, because when things get hard is when people trust you. If you are there, if you are faithful, if you are hardworking when things are good, that's easy. But if you're there, if you're hardworking, if you're disciplined when things are hard, then people really trust you. They really see the grit and the grace and the energy and your character, right? Because you're no longer doing it to get something. You're now doing it to be able to give the people in your life the gift of abundance, the gift of having a protector, the gift of having a provider, the gift of resilience, the gift of integrity. So being lost is a choice, right? It's just that being strong and being found takes a lot of responsibility. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot of energy. It's a very it's a thin line. So what I'd say is look up things like somatic exercises, like somatic release exercises, so you can start releasing the emotional pain that you're in, and get genuine, real help with the traumas that you've experienced. There's nothing more powerful than a man that's clear. And a man can only be clear when he's not in emotional agony, which is why so much of the culture is geared towards making men emotionally literate, emotionally in pain, right? Because if you teach a man not to feel, if you teach a man not to express his feelings, he's only going to get so far in life before he literally cannot function, and the depression or the anxiety and the self-hatred starts to destroy him. And that's why you see such high levels of depression and self-hatred in men, is because they are taught as children, as adolescents, because it makes them easier to control, to repress their emotions. When you make the decision to stop repressing your emotions and to start mastering them, to start really leveling up, when you control your emotions and your thoughts, you control your world, you create your reality. And that makes a very dangerous, very powerful man, right? Because then you are no longer controllable, and your level of success is infinite. Your capacity to heal and to provide is infinite, because you start problem solving in situations that before would have crushed you. Right? I was actually reflecting on that this week, because I was looking at how far I've come, both in my spiritual growth and in my business growth. And there are things even that happened within the last 2 weeks that I dealt with without even blinking, without even getting stressed out about, that if they'd happened 5 years ago, 6 years ago, it would have crushed me. It would have taken me out for 2 or 3 days or for a week. So your resilience grows. Your capacity to contain and to hold, it strengthens. It's not that life gets easier, it's that you get stronger. But you have to give yourself a chance to test that strength and believe in that strength, and go through some of those hot winds of testing, and make. So this is the last thing your angels are really showing me to say to you, is that how you respond to other people's behavior is about who you are, not about what they deserve. So if you start responding to other people's toxic behavior, the gossip that they have, the nasty things they say, their lack of belief in you, by putting people down or having no faith in yourself, or destroying your good, it just makes you bitter, and it turns you into a weird version of them, and it's not who you are. No matter what other people do, you stay kind, you stay godly, you stay focused on God's word, you stay who you are, right? And who they are is a reflection of their wounds, not a reflection of your worth, not a reflection of your character. Do not let other people's bitterness and toxicity pull you into being a worse person than you are. you're a good person, right? And people used to say it to me all the time in the beginning, and it really is Course in Miracles that saved my ass. It's like, why are you being so nice to that person that's being a douche? It's like, I'm not being nice to them. I'm being kind because that's who I am, right? Nice would be doing whatever they want me to do, which I'm still saying no, I'm still holding my boundary. Nice would be acting like their behavior is okay, which I'm also not doing, but I stay kind because those are my core values. And the moment that I start behaving in a way that's unkind, I'm no longer being true to who I want to be. It's got nothing to do with them, right? Every behavior, every virtue, everything that we practice is a habit that we are forming. So I refuse to practice habits, particularly emotional habits that aren't in alignment with who you really want to be, and watch yourself start to rise. Watch the drama in your life start to clear up, because people that attack you in those ways, they're doing it to get a rise out of you. They're doing it to prove that you're like a bad person. They're doing it to try and catch you out. So if you stand your ground and you stay kind and you stay consistent and you just keep doing the good thing and you keep choosing to follow God's rules and you keep serving and they cannot stop you. They cannot hold you. What God has put in you is unstoppable, right? But if you give in to fear and you start, getting caught up in the drama or gossiping or returning or talking, it just lowers your vibration. It starts to make you a bitter person. You start losing confidence and faith in yourself. You lose track of who you are, and that then you get caught up in a cycle that could have been resolved very quickly. Okay, Mitra saying, thank you for your healing/help. Last week I was really confused. Now I know my biggest lesson in this lifetime probably is finding self-love through abuse, my worth and my power. I'm hungry to heal. That's huge, Mitra. Well done. It's a pleasure. It's an absolute pleasure. Your angels are like having a mini dance party in celebration of you. Like we search for self-love in the wrong places. Self-love cannot be found in abuse, right? Self-love can only be found in practicing love for ourselves and love for others. But when we are raised in an abusive environment, we believe that love is abuse, and then we recreate what's familiar to us, right? But you are here to master self-love, and you do not need to be abused to do that or to learn that. Okay, Gabrielle is saying, Dear Sky, could I please have some advice about the missing intimacy from my marriage? We seem to get along well, but this part is missing. Thank you. Whoa, so we're getting into female archetypes here. Let me ask Archangel, switching to romance cards, actually. Let's switch over to the romance cards and see what's coming up. Yep. These cards are like on suddenly so heavy. What do you just have to say? Okay, so this could be the one. You already have the romantic partner you seek, right? So you can see the angels are already looking at this and already helping you. The romance angels are already involved inside the situation and helping to create more intimacy. Okay, so you got the separation card that says time apart from your partner is on the horizon and will do you good. So I'll give you an example. Me and my partner don't sleep in the same room, and we haven't for a long time. And the reason we started doing that was actually because it helped our intimacy. If you and your partner are together all the time, and for me and my partner, that started with COVID, because we went from working in separate buildings and coming home to each other to both working from home. And that being together all the time actually biologically changes you. So it means that a man's testosterone will lower and a woman's testosterone will increase. And the same for estrogen. A man's estrogen will rise and a woman's estrogen will lower, so that you can be more like each other. It's quite beautiful how our biology reaches for the other consciousness, isn't it? It's not just our energy. But if you stay in that state, there's no polarity. There's no chemistry. There's no I'm a man and I'm a woman. So if you were to walk into my office, right? My office is pink. You can only see the white behind me, but everything else is pink. Whereas my husband's office is all browns and greens and blues and emeralds and deep navies, kind of like a stormy ocean. And my office is like a flower bower exploded. There's like lilies and fluffy white cushions and angel wings and pink carpets and women's heels and workout shoes, and the energy creates our polarity. right? The energy creates the chemistry between us. So what they're saying is you need to spend a little bit of time apart, on a daily basis. You need to have some time, um, out of his energy, um, for a while, to let the polarity increase. And they're also saying, when I'm tuning in, that you need to make some time to let yourself feel like a woman. You need to receive, whether that means, getting a massage or going to a spa or getting your hair done. Women need to feel beautiful to desire intimacy 99% of the time. Right? Most of the women that I know, especially when they're pushing men away, it's because they feel ugly, even if they're not. Right? If they feel unattractive, if they feel ugly, even if they're really, really beautiful, it doesn't matter. The feeling means they don't want to be touched. They don't want anybody to come near them. They feel embarrassed about their sexuality. So it's about pulling in more of that sex kitten energy. And that comes from you feeling good. And you need to do whatever that is. For some women, that's sitting on the beach listening to music. For some women, that's getting a massage. For some women, that's shopping. It doesn't matter what it is. You have to, and it doesn't have to be expensive, but it has to have that essence of luxury, right? So if you can't afford a spa, it's filling up the foot bath, and putting some warm water and soap into it, giving yourself a foot massage. It's making sure you have clean hair. It's going for a walk and sitting in a nice cafe outside in the sunshine. It doesn't necessarily have to be expensive, but there has to be the energetics of luxury, the energetics of beauty. One of the things I loved about living in London for so long was being able to just walk through some of the world's most incredible art. It was such beauty to be around that. And nature's the same, right? Women feel that call to be in connection with beauty, not as a standards they fit into, because you don't owe anybody your prettiness, but as a resonance, as a sort of soul medicine that comes from the universe. Like the stars are beautiful and the moon is beautiful, and the ocean is beautiful, and they're not beautiful because they're trying to get something's approval. They're beautiful because that's part of their essence. It's part of their nature. It's part of who they are, right? It's beyond pleasing. It's just a part of life itself. There we go. I can feel that starting to shift and move. And just let yourself have some space without feeling guilty about it. Yeah, your angels are like, get out the house, get out the house, get out the house, get out the house. I have a rule with my son, actually, because I still work from home, that on the days where we're together, I get out the house. I never ever stay in the house. I'm either at the zoo or the soft play or the beach or a play date or at my mother's house, but I'm never stuck at home all day, even though I love my home. But because I work here and my office is here, there you need to have a shift in energy. You need to get out of that place in your mind. Journey to Divine Love is saying, hi Sky, I hope you're well. After speaking my truth to my mom about not sharing my spirituality with her, I've noticed she's been distant. Any guidance around how to deal with this? Keep sending unconditional love. And that's the first step, is like, keep sending unconditional love and recognize that, we have a right to share our truth, but other people have a right to respond. Right? This is like what the difference between sharing our truth from a place of love versus sharing our truth from a place of control. Our truth doesn't change another person's truth. So if she doesn't if she doesn't feel ready or doesn't feel able to connect with you in that way, then acknowledge that the relationship has changed. Over time, if you accept her as she is, she will either return to the relationship being better, or it will, this distance will become a natural part of it. But if you were having a relationship with your mom that was based on a lie, this distance was there anyway. It just wasn't visible. Right? Now the truth has made it visible, and you have the choice. What I do is I always keep sending unconditional love, and 9 times out of 10, I would say 10 out of 10, it resolves the distance. The distance you feel when people are upset is them pushing you away. That wall is them saying, you're not safe and you don't really love me, and I don't feel loved by you. I don't feel seen by you. I don't feel understood by you. So what you're doing when you keep sending them love is saying, I do see you. I do understand you. I do love you. and I am me, I'm not you. So it's possible for me to love you and not have the same beliefs, opinions, or truths as you, right? And that's a very advanced lesson for souls to master. A lot of people go through many lifetimes before they realize that other people are not them. Other people have their own beliefs, ideas, thoughts, perceptions, and it's not as a way of insulting them or controlling them. It's just that you're allowed to have your own mind and your own thoughts and your own energy, and it's safe for them too, because that means they're allowed to have their thoughts and their energy and their space. But just respect that space and keep sending unconditional love. Okay, Lena saying, hi Sky, I'd like to ask for angel guidance about body, especially mouth. Is there any infection in the teeth slash issues? Do I need more work on my beliefs? What's the roots? Yeah, my love, you need to go to a dentist. There definitely looks like there's some kind of an infection going on. And obviously I'm not a doctor, but when I'm scanning it, it really looks inflamed and a lot of anger. Teeth are around decisions and around ancestral beliefs and conditioning, because it's your bones, right? So what is it exactly that you're afraid of deciding on? Do you back yourself up when you make decisions, or do you keep flailing or falling down? And that's important, because the lesson that you're learning, the spiritual lesson when there's teeth issues, and teeth is because each tooth is connected to a different meridian and a different organ inside the body. You can tell a lot about where you're having problems making decisions and where you're blocked based on where the infection is. So infections are anger, and very often it's anger at having to make our decisions, anger at the decisions we made, or anger at the decisions that other people want us to make or are expecting us to make. And you can be angry at making a decision because it's genuinely not fair that that situation or that decision has been placed on you. But you can also be angry at it because you're immature, right? And you have to grow into that level of responsibility, and it feels uncomfortable to do that, and you're not used to it, right? So you have to really be still and check in with, where does this anger come from? Does this anger come from the immaturity and the fear that you don't have what it takes to grow, to mature, to take up that space? Or does this anger come from the fact that you are trying to make decisions that were never yours to make? Right? Is somebody putting decisions on you that, aren't yours? Whether that's they want you to make decisions about their finances or their medical care or their future or their parents or their boyfriends, etc. So take that fearless moral inventory of, is this anger that's showing me I'm afraid of growing, right? And then I'm attacking, kind of creating drama instead of developing the emotional and spiritual muscles required. And facing my weaknesses and facing my vulnerabilities? Or is this anger because this is genuinely not mine, and it's taking my time and energy from my divine life purpose? And then you decide what to do based on the answer that comes from there. Okay. Okay. Debbie saying, anything for me, please. Let's have a look. Oh, Debbie, it seems to be the romance cards for you. So let's see what's coming. Okay. Love yourself first, in keeping with our self-love card. Your self-respect makes you more romantically attractive. So the angels are actually, I can hear your angels laughing, and the angels are, I don't know if you've had like a tiff or a conflict with your partner, but they're saying that you are like, you've been triggered and you're going into, they're angry at me, and that must mean that my response was wrong. Maybe I should just do what they want. Maybe I should cave. And this card is like saying, stand your ground. They're going to come around, and it's okay. The same way that it's okay to let a little child have a tantrum, and you stay calm and you stay centered, and you say to that little child, this is a big feeling, and it's really hard being with anger and being with being with sadness and being with frustration, but mommy can't let you hit. And it's exactly the same in intimate relationships. It's really hard, not getting what you want. It's really hard not being able to control another person. It's really hard learning to love another person the way that they are. And I will not be treated this way. I cannot let you treat me this way. Right? So you can be compassionate to what another person is going through and how difficult it is maturing for them. And at the same time, be very aware, right, that behavior cannot stand and the relationship survive. So you just want to hold that middle ground and be like, but the angels, I can hear your angels laughing, and there's going to be some sort of makeup intimacy going on. I'm going to avoid the segs word just so I don't trigger TikTok, but it's going to be a reconciliation very soon. Don't never ever measure your actions by another person's response, okay? Measure your actions by your values. Okay, never ever measure your actions by another person's response, because people, especially when they've not had emotionally mature parents, will often respond from fear. You measure your response in an argument or difficult situation by checking with your values, right? So, for example, my values is: was I kind? Did I have integrity? Um, was I brave? Was I honest? Um, was I curious? Was I humorous? These are the things that I'm looking at, right? Was I suppose the word is, was I in divine order? I think that when I ask myself, I say, was it like godly? Is this what God would do? Kind of like, is this what the angels would do? Is this what my higher self would do? Is this the best I can do? Those are the kind of places I go to when I'm questioning, was that response the correct response? And also, like, I will, and I don't just do this for one conflict situation. I do this for all conflict situations, right? And I think that's why I've developed such strong emotional and spiritual maturity, is that I remember watching the Anthony Robbins relationship program a long time ago, and he really hammered it into me that every conflict is 100%, 100%, not 50-50, right? So whenever you're in a conflict, you are 100% responsible for you. So what was your tone of voice like? Were you as kind as you could have been when it came to communicating your truth? Were you as honest as you could have been? It's like taking that fierce moral inventory so that you can become better and better at being kind and being loving in very difficult situations. And also at regulating the other person. Did you start that conflict at last thing at night or first thing in the morning when you were both exhausted? Would your silence have been better than your words? Did that person need space held? Would it have been better to have that conversation once they'd calmed down, or after they'd had a meal, or than it would have been to necessarily have it in that moment, right? Could you have had it in private instead of in public? Those are the kind of fierce self-inquiry that's required when it comes to arguments, if that helps you. But genuinely, this is going to get resolved. You guys are going to make up, and you've done the right thing. You set the tone for the rest of your relationship by what standards you accept. Okay, so just stand your ground. Okay, Summer Love is saying, hi Sky, I want to manifest a significant amount of money, a few millions in lottery, and generating it through my own income. Is there anything standing in my way energetically? God bless you for all of the help. Look, when it comes to money, you are always, always, always looking at lovability and worthiness, right? So when it comes to money, you are always, always, always looking at, let's start with worthiness. So people have been taught since childhood, like at school, that they receive the amount of money that they are worth. So you need to believe that what you are providing has that worth. So you want to start with muscle testing. How much do you think the work that you are providing is worth? Right? How much do you think that what you give to the world is worth? Okay. Then you need to look at the ways that you've created to receive income. Because I remember thinking, I mean, this is like way before when I first started doing angel readings, and I was still like either doing them completely for free, not like this, guys. Like I would do all of them for free. I wasn't making any money, and I had a full-time job as well. So like when not only did I genuinely not understand the worth of my work, right? Now I still do angel readings for free, but I know their worth. I know that they're worth thousands and thousands. I know they save lives. So it's a completely different energy than when you're doing them in the beginning from a place of not knowing their worth and not understanding the value that you contribute to a room or to humanity, right? So the most important thing here is that I didn't have a container to receive money. So I was teaching, I kid you not, the first ever workshop I ran in London, because I was invited to run a workshop for somebody else's group. I thought there were going to be like 20 people there, and it was 400 people that were there. I didn't have a bank account open. I didn't have a business. I didn't have a company. There was nowhere for the money to go, right? There was nowhere for me to receive. So if you want millions, you have to make a container for receiving millions. Okay. You also have to look at your fears about other people taking your money, family taking your money, the government taking your money. If you don't understand investment, tax laws, how to make your money work for you, then this is why most people win the lottery and they're bankrupt within less than a couple of years, because they don't know how to keep it and they don't believe they deserve to keep it. So then they find ways of getting rid of it and sabotaging it. Okay. A million is roughly 800,000 a month. All right, 800,000 a month that you need to be making in. And it's not difficult to make that, especially not with online products like planners and clothes, and especially with affiliate marketing at the moment, as long as you're being consistent. But you need to set that as a goal. If your goal is a million, 80,000 per month minimum, research your niches. How is it exactly that I want that to come in? Create the correct bank accounts and then work on your worthiness. And then let's take a bit of look at your lovability. So a lot of marketing is about talking about how much you love something. I love the dress. I love the book. I love the clothes. I love myself, right? If you don't have that, you can't convince other people that you have that. It's fake. So then it doesn't work. So you have to work on your lovability, that you are beautiful enough, you are clever enough, you are intelligent enough, you are good enough, you are hardworking enough to deserve the abundance that you want. And when you really believe that you are lovable enough, right? That's when things start to come a lot more effortlessly, and you stop having to hustle, 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 to keep and sustain that kind of income. So I hope that helps. Okay, Sarah's saying, hi Sky, can I have guidance and healing on enjoying life more? Sometimes I get lost in the healing process and get too absorbed in negative emotions and mental loops. Thank you so much. So this is twofold. The angels are really showing me that you are not finishing your healing. So this is like this is the dark side of not having a healer or a therapist hold a container, is that when you're doing it for yourself, you're a lot more likely to bypass the emotional release or not stay present with yourself for long enough, when other people are doing it for you. Because if a good therapist will call you on you emotionally bypassing or you repressing your emotions, whereas if there's nobody there, you might start a healing session, get to the original memory or to the core wound or the core belief or whatever it is that you call it, and then not be present for the emotional release and be like, oh, I know what that is, and just stop the healing right there. And that healing isn't finished. Knowing the wound is not the healing, right? Knowing the problem is not the solution. So many people understand poverty, but never understand abundance. So many people understand anger, but never understand forgiveness. The solution is not the problem. And the solution is never at the level of consciousness of the wound, which is why the healing then unfolds from there. Knowing where you got hurt is the beginning of the healing, not the end. Right? It's the beginning of the story, not the final chapter. So when you're getting stuck in negative emotions, it's because you're afraid of feeling your feelings. And when you feel your feelings and you release your feelings, there will come a state of peace, and then there will also come the revelations, right? And that's when the new state of consciousness and the new meanings and the new futures and then the quantum leaping kind of happens, and the new futures are born from that space. Okay, so let's just take a minute to clear as much as we can of the emotions, because kind of like you've opened a lot of loops but not properly closed them. And let's give you the courage and also a little bit of the kick up the backside to make sure you make it to the end of the healings. And that is where you are creating the joy, visualizing the incredible future, receiving your good, right? If you're still in the sad bit, the healing isn't finished. You're either at the beginning or halfway through. The healing is finished when you feel peace, when you feel joy, when you feel whole. It's not finished just because you felt a bit of emotional sadness or you felt anger. That's not the end, that's the beginning. The release is not the healing, right? The creation of a new reality and a new identity is the healing. Okay. Got time for a couple more. Gabriella saying, hi Sky, I've been reading different things about fasting for longer than several hours and would love to know your take on it, especially for a fast that's longer than 24 hours. Thanks in advance. Okay, so it's important that you understand that fasting is different for everybody because people's health history is different. So you're not, if you imagine that you're in a race, but you're not starting from the same start line, that's why different fasting advice is important for different people. Okay. And it's all fasting is also different for men than it is for women because women have hormonal cycles and men don't. So there are different things required for fertility and for balanced hormones than are required for men. And most of the experiments that were done in male groups. They weren't done in female groups. It's just starting to have the studies done on fasting for women now. Okay, so it's important to understand that there is a difference. But when it comes to spirituality, and for me, like the longest I've ever fasted, just so you guys know, is 30 days. And that was a water fast. And it was when I was doing my intuitive anatomy instructors in Switzerland. You after the first 3 days you switch from like that panic of I'm going to die and I'm not eating to like this complete euphoria that lasts until afterwards. Fasting is an ancient thing that you use for healing the body and healing the mind and healing the soul. Within 3 days you have a brand new immune system, and then the body heals and restores and repairs from there. There are genetic mechanisms that get triggered by ketosis, which is the absence of food and sugar inside the body. That the body starts to destroy all the cells that have been genetically damaged and physically damaged, and all the healthy cells start to dump out all their waste into the bloodstream so that you can get rid of it and renew it. So fasting is very useful for healing all kinds of diseases, for reverse aging, for a spiritual growth and maturity, for connecting to God, because it opens up a lot of time. You have no idea. You probably spend, without even thinking about it, roughly 6 to 7 hours a day preparing food, thinking about food, eating food. So when you take that out, you get a lot of time, a lot of energy back, and also all of the feelings that you were using food to numb, cover up, hide are suddenly released, right? And you cannot turn to food, so you have to turn to God. And that's why it's been used for a very long time in that way. But it can also be used in intermittent ways. So you see a lot of that with things like Lent or Ramadan, where you're eating like one meal a day. Ideally, it should be early in the morning, not late at night. So if you're going to do things like that for fasting, you should be eating like around, better to eat at 3-4 o'clock in the morning than it is to be eating at like 7-8 o'clock at night. But traditionally speaking, it still gives the body a lot longer to rest, repair, renew, restore itself, and it has a lot of health benefits. Every animal in nature fasts when they're sick. Okay, dogs, cats, mice, rabbits, it's across the board. All animals fast when they're sick. And it's exactly because they know it's giving their immune system a chance to heal. And also because they know that the digestion takes the most energy. Okay, so when you can cut off all the energy that goes into digesting and breaking down food, suddenly all that energy can be used for healing, restoration, and repair, which is also what happens when you sleep. You fast when you sleep, right? You do it unconsciously, but it's true. You're still fasting when you sleep. And then all that energy that's why they say never eat before bed, right? Because then the energy that should be used to heal, rest, restore your body is being used to digest the food, and it messes with your body's capacity to heal and sleep deeply. And it's why people get nightmares when they eat things like rice and cheese and stuff before bed. Your body needs time to heal, and fasting gives it time to do that. Particularly if you are constantly putting in food that's abusive for your body. But I'm all for fasting, but I think it needs to be supervised, exactly because people start from different medical places, and they're also on different types of medications, and fasting is not compatible with a lot of those medications because it changes the dosage, etc. So if you're going to do fasting, you want to for example, the True North Health Clinic in America will do a free consultation with you around fasting. With one of their qualified doctors for fasting, and like do supervised fasting for you from a distance. There are many fasting clinics throughout Europe. So if you're thinking about fasting, I recommend working with, a qualified professional, because everybody starts from a different space. If you're going to do longer than 72 hours, If you're just going to do 24 hours and you're not on any serious medications, then it's considered safe for most people to do that without any issues. And yeah, 24 to 72 hours is considered very safe unless you're on any serious medications or you have any serious health conditions. So I would start with 24, try 72, and you'll notice huge differences in your body and in your mind as well. Okay, I'm going to stop here because I have a lot of healings to do this afternoon, but I'll see you guys tomorrow. Happy Tuesday. O Great Spirit, Father Sky, Mother Earth, the winds, the waters, my Father, my Mother, Atanaha, all that is. We thank you for our lives and we thank you for these good people. We thank you for all that we are and all that we are to become. We dedicate our time spent together and our relationships with one another to you. We ask that our suffering be ended and our pain be lifted to the love and to the peace that lay beyond. Aho, Amen, Namaste.